everyone, welcome back to Universal Group of Institutions. I am Lavanya. So welcome back to our NCERT series, and if you have not visited our channel, please do visit Universal Group of Institutions. So let's move forward with the next chapter of NCERT Grade 7. Every event around us involves motion. The opening of a door, the flow of a river, the movement of planets, and even the ticking of a clock. All are governed by motion and time. So to understand the nature scientifically, we must be able to observe motion, measure it accurately, and represent it logically. So physics begins with such fundamental questions like how do we describe motion, how do we measure time, and how do we compare the motion of different objects. So this chapter, which is motion and time, answer these questions and lays the foundation for mechanics, which is one of the most important branches of physics. So motion is an integral part of our daily life. Yes, from the movement of vehicles on the road to the rotation of earth around the sun, everything around us is either in motion or at rest relative to something else. So to understand physical world scientifically, it is essential to study how objects move and their motion and how it is measured. So what is motion? An object is said to be in motion if it changes its position with respect to the time. So motion is always relative. As I said, the object will be in the motion or at rest relative to something else. So when we observe objects around us, we notice that some move faster while others move slowly, right? Even the same object can move or may move at different speeds at different times. For example, if we take an example of bus, the bus moves faster than a bicycle and bicycle moves faster than a person who's walking. So we generally decide whether an object is slow or fast by observing the distance it covers and in a given interval of time. So motion is described by using distance they cover and the time taken to cover the distance. So thus the motion can be compared only when we consider both distance and the time together. So both are required to compare the motion. So what is speed? Speed is a physical quantity that helps us how fast an object is moving. So speed is defined as the distance covered by an object in unit time. So what is the definition of speed? Speed is defined as the distance covered by an object in unit time. So mathematically we say speed is equal to total distance covered divided by the total time taken. So how do we say it mathematically? We say speed is equal to total distance covered divided by total time taken. So for example, we can take a car. We can say that the car is moving at the speed of 50 km per hour. That means the car covers 50 kilometers in 1 hour. Okay. So the speed of the car is 50 kilometers per hour. That means it is going to cover or reach 50 kilometers in 1 hour. So in real life, if the objects rarely move with constant speed, so what happens? The vehicle starts slowly, they accelerate, they decelerate, and they may also stop. So therefore, we usually calculate average speed, which consider the total distance covered over the total time taken. So regardless of speeds variations during the journey. So the term speed generally refers to the average speed. Okay. So how do we calculate the average speed? It considers the total distance covered over the total time taken. Okay. So when an object moves along a straight line and covers equal distance in equal intervals of time, this motion is known as uniform motion. What is uniform motion? Where it covers equal distance in equal intervals of time. That means constant speed along a straight line is known as uniform motion. So in uniform motion, the speed remains constant and distance time graph is straight line. What is happening here? The speed remains constant and the distance time graph is straight line. And when an object covers unequal distance in equal intervals of time, its motion is called non-uniform motion. So what is non-uniform motion? When an object covers unequal distance in equal intervals of time. So where there is a changing of speed over the time. So most objects in daily life what we see are all equal, or we can say non-uniform motion, where such as cars in the traffic or an athletes running during a race, and even we while we are studying or we are reading some paragraphs or we are writing something, this the initial speed will be lagged, or we'll stop sometime, we will start again, we will slow down, will faster. So this is the non-uniform motion where we see in our day actions. So, to measure speed, we must be able to measure the time accurately. Yes, if we are not able to measure the time, then we cannot measure the speed. So, historically, how we used to measure time? So, in ancient civilization, the time was observed with the periodic natural events. So, that means they used to involve the periodic natural events to measure the time. So, if we take a day was defined as the time between two sunrises, where sunrise to the sunset, or from one sunrise to the next sunrise. And if we talk about the month, where 1 month was measured from one new moon to the next new moon, from one new moon to the next new moon. And if we look into the year, it's something where 1 year was the time taken by the earth to complete one revolution around the sun. That means earth's complete revolution around the sun. And later, in the early time measuring device, they also includes sundials, where based on our shadow during the movement of sun, we used to measure the time. And then we have water clock, which was based on the controlled flow of the water. And then we had sand clocks, that means based on the filling or the falling of sand from one region to the another region. So these are the early time measuring devices which we used to do, and the modern clocks and watches which we use are used based on the periodic motion for the accurate time measurement. For example, the watches, the wall clocks, whatever we use, the digital watches which we are using these days, these are the accurate measuring units which helps us to measure the time. So, to measure these shorter intervals of time, we humans have developed these instruments such as clocks, watches, wall clocks, the digital watches, what we all come across. So, all time measuring devices works on the principle of periodic motion. They works on the based on the principle called periodic motion. So, that is where the motion that repeats itself at regular interval. What is happening? The motion repeating itself at regular interval of time. So once the most important example of periodic motion used for the time measurement is called simple pendulum. So which is the most important example of the periodic motion? That is simple pendulum. So now we will talk about the simple pendulum. So a simple pendulum consists of a small heavy object called bob. Can you see? This is the bob. And a light string. Can you see? This is the string. And a rigid surface from which the string is suspended or the string is attached. So when the bob is slightly displaced from its mean position and released, it moves to and fro. It moves to and fro. So this to and fro motion is called as oscillatory motion, or it also known as periodic motion, where a simple pendulum consists of a bob suspended by a string. Okay, so when it moves from its principal position or the mean position, it gives to and fro motion. This to and fro motion is known as oscillatory motion or the periodic motion, which repeats at regular interval of time. So the clock and all which we are using now, they also have the same principle. What is that principle? That principle is periodic motion. That means the motion repeats itself at regular interval of time or at the regular intervals. So one complete oscillation of a pendulum occurs when the bob. So how can I say that this is a one complete oscillation has happened? How can I say that? That when the bob moves from the mean position to one extreme position and then to the other extreme position and finally returns to the mean position. So if O is the mean position, it moves towards A, one extreme position, and again move towards the B, which is second extreme position, and finally it comes back to the same original mean position, and that's when we get to know that it is one complete oscillation. That's when we come to know that is one complete oscillation. Okay, so the time taken by the pendulum to complete one oscillation is called its time period. What it is called? It is called its time period. So an important observation about pendulum is that for a given length, the time period remains almost constant even if the string is small or big. So it doesn't matter whether the string is small or large. The time period remains constant. Okay. So, the Italian scientist Galileo Galilei observed that a pendulum of a given length always takes the same time to complete one oscillation. So, who observed this? The Italian scientist, who is Galileo Galilei, noticed this one, that it takes the same time to complete one oscillation. So, this discovery led to the development of a pendulum clock. So he noticed a church lamp swinging and discovered that a pendulum of given length always takes the same time to complete one oscillation regardless of its string's size. So based on his observation in the church lamp, he came to this idea of oscillation. So this is the measurement of time, and next we will talk about the units of time and speed. So the basic unit of time is the International System of Units, which is SI. Is the second and represented by the symbol small s. Okay, the larger the units of time include, which is minute and hour. So system of units, which is SI, and the seconds is the which is represented as small s, and the larger units of time includes the hour and a minute, where minute is been represented by min minute and the hours is represented by small h. So it is important to remember that the unit symbols are always written in singular form, such as I can say kilometer, meter and seconds, and not as kilometers or seconds. It should always be written as singular. So the SI symbols or SI units should always be written in the singular format. Then we will talk about the unit of speed, where since speed is distance divided by the time, so the SI unit of speed is meter per second. So what is the SI unit of speed? Which is meter per second, where meter is represented as small m and seconds is represented as small s. So small m divided by small s. So other commonly used units for speed includes kilometer per hour. I can say kilometer per hour, and I can say meter per minute. So everything should be written in a small letters and everything should be in a singular form, which is an important rule. So it should be like 50 kilometer, not kilometers, and 8 centimeter, not centimeters, or 5 seconds instead of 5 seconds. We should not write as seconds. It's like second. Okay. So now we know how to measure time. We know the units of time and the units of speed. So now let's learn how to measure speed. So once distance and time are known, speed can be calculated easily. So how can we calculate speed? So with the help of the distance and time, we can easily calculate for the speed. How? Distance is equals to speed and time. So it's distance is equals to speed and time. Or I can also say like time is equals to distance by speed. So speedometer measures the speed of a vehicle, or odometer measures the distance travelled. So these instruments are commonly used in the cars, bus and motorcycles and all. So how do we measure speed? Speed can be measured when the distance and time are known. Why? Because distance is equals to speed and time is equals to distance by speed. And a distance time graph represents motion pictorially and helps us understand motion more clearly than the tables. So time is taken on the x-axis and the distance is taken in the y-axis. And the points according to distance and time are plotted and joined. So where if we find a straight line, that means the line indicates uniform motion. And if we see a curved line, it indicates non-uniform motion. And the graph helps to determine the distance at any instant of time, where the speed can be calculated from the slope of the graph. So we can say that the graph presents motion data visually and makes pattern easier to identify than the tables alone. So in the distance time graph, the x-axis will have time in it and the y-axis will have distance. And if the line or the graph is straight line, then that means it is a uniform motion. If it is curved, it is a non-uniform motion, and they helps to determine the distance at any instant of time, and speed can be calculated from the slope of the graph. So in this chapter we have studied the concept of motion, speed and its calculation, measurement of time, simple pendulum, which is also called as periodic motion, uniform and non-uniform motion, and we also came across the distance time graphs and their interpretation. So these concepts are the foundation of physics and are essential for understanding more advanced topic in motion. So with this we will conclude the chapter motion and time, and if you find this video informative, don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. Thank you.